want to extend a very special welcome to Curtis Ross, who's over here. This is Suzanne's son, and it's Suzanne who has benefited the tree just that we have just been down to the community garden to see. And it's a magnificent oak tree. It will grow into a magnificent oak tree, I have absolutely no doubt, because our people who tend the garden will make sure that it is very well looked after. I'd also like to welcome Leah McKay, who's from the Association of Jewish Refugees, and Leah has travelled over here from London, and not this morning, thankfully, so she was from our weather. Curtis did, so he had a bumpy ride, but anyway, they both got here safely, which is good. We also have Barbara Dresner here, who I haven't yet really had the opportunity to meet, but Barbara has been in touch with me as well, because Barbara's father and aunt were actually on the farm as well, and as part of the kinder transport, so Barbara has a lovely story to tell us as well, and I'm sure we'll have time when this is all over for Barbara to say that story. And I've actually put together a wee pack for you which holds Suzanne's story and Barbara's story as well. And when she told me how he used to sit on his grandfather Morris's knee when he was young, and in fact they called him Little Morris without cigar. And if you actually look at a picture that we have up here, it's very evident that his grandfather was a real cigar man, but Morris obviously as a young lad wasn't, or Curtis as a young lad wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see if you smoke cigars now, Curtis. I don't know whether you do or not, but that's another story probably. You can have a wee look at some of the pictures that we have put up. Barbara Dresner, as I've said, is also here. Barbara has a story to tell as well of her father and her aunt, and I've prepared papers which we've put in the wee packs for you all to take away. And I'm sure Curtis, Lee and Barbara will have plenty to talk to you about when all of this is over. There is a saying that mighty oaks from little acorns grow. This saying means that great things or people can come from small beginnings, and I think that has been proven by the children who passed through McGill's farm. And went on to make good lives for themselves around the world. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Linda Patterson, who is the retired headmistress of Malaya Primary School, and who has kept the story, if you want to call it the story, of the Holocaust alive.
Good morning everyone. Yes, I worked in Malaya Primary School for 39 years. So I had the privilege of meeting lots and lots of very interesting people and tried to help them in any way that I could. And then as an idea, came up with the idea of the Holocaust Memorial Garden in our school. So Malaya Village played its part in Holocaust history, and our story is a very important part of the village community. And retelling it has become a vital link in the life of our school. And Safe Haven was the name that we gave to the Holocaust Memorial Garden in the grounds of the school. And this Safe Haven is what Malaya community provided for over 300 Jewish refugees during the Second World War and afterwards, right up to 1949. A small group of children came to Malaya from all over the world and attended our school as well, which was fantastic. They had been rescued from their homes. And this transportation was called the Kinder Transport. And they lived on the farm on the Ballywater Road, and it had been leased by the local Jewish community for 10 years. And Finding Refuge is the Malaya Farm Story, which is an online resource launched by Down County Museum. It's lovely to see Shirley here today, whom we worked with. And it brings together the photographs, the interviews, the films, the documents from a variety of museum collections. And it presents that powerful, engaging story, as we say, of the County Down Haven, which sheltered so many refugees. So pupils of Malaya Primary School have enjoyed meeting many of these people over the years, including Walter Kamerling, and sadly the late Walter Kamerling. And we were also delighted to share their research with Walter and the author Marilyn Taylor, whose award-winning children's novel Far Away Home is based on the Malaya farm story. As a 15-year-old, Walter was sent by his desperate parents from his home in Vienna as part of the Kindertransport to Britain, where he found temporary home at the Malal farm. One of his sisters, Erica, gained a precious work permit for England, and she made an escape at the same time. But his 17-year-old sister Ruth was too old for the Kindertransport and too young to obtain a work permit. And Walter learns later that Ruth and both his parents had perished at Auschwitz in 1944, just 3 months before the liberation of the camp. Another fantastic family whom I had the pleasure to meet were the Kohner family. And Ruth Kohner had her family escaped from Prague, came to the Malal farm. Ruth was only a toddler, and her sister Dinah. And they eventually built their lives in Northern Ireland and founded the Bell Art Clothing Factory. I had the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Kohner, aged 93, and she could still speak her 5 languages. And what I'll always remember her saying was, a little girl from our school interviewed her and said, "Did your daughters like living on the farm?" And she said, "My daughters liked living." And then, of course, the late Larry Kitzler, who lived in Donaghadee. His Jewish parents had found refuge in Northern Ireland at the beginning of World War II. And Larry and his mother spent time on the Jewish farm in Malal. And later they moved into a house in Malal and then eventually settled in Donaghadee. These are only some of the people I've had the pleasure to meet. There have been so many, amazing number over the 39 years, and it was lovely to have the Holocaust Garden to bring people to. We also have our website, and Mr. McManus, you can talk to him then afterwards. Mrs. Easton as well was brilliant at forming lots of information and putting it onto the website, and we have a Holocaust section on our school website. So thank you very much.
I'd like to bring in Frankie Ramsey now, who is a former pupil of Malal Primary School and who would have been involved in learning about the role Malal played in the Holocaust. She's just going to read you a short poem on tolerance.
If a man ever learns that by helping others he helps himself more, it will be the most illuminating moment in the history of mankind, and hope will be reborn when we finally realise that loving is better than eating.
Leah Mackay from the Association of Jewish Refugees to come up and say a few words as well again. Thank you very much.
I'm Leah Mackay, and I'm delighted to be here today to represent the Association of Jewish Refugees. With enormous gratitude, I want to start by thanking Joe Scott and all the team here at Malal for facilitating this event. I also want to especially thank our member, Suzanne Solomon, who has generously sponsored the oak sapling we are planting today in honour of her late parents, Morris and Herta Solomon. We are delighted to be able to help her mark her family heritage in this way, and are especially pleased that her son Curtis is able to be here with us today. Suzanne's father, Morris, was born in Belfast in 1895. His parents were Russian Jews who had arrived penniless not long before he was born. Determined to help boost the struggling household income, young Morris left school early. He sold cups of water on the beach in Malal in the summer and peddled haberdashery in the winter, with a growing interest in the newfangled wireless business. In partnership with Harold Perez, he took an agency for Decca Records, and Solomon and Perez became one of the leading record distributors in Ireland. They also focused on identifying and nurturing Irish musical talent. Van Morrison is just one of many Irish artists whose career took root from the Solomon and Perez stable. Meanwhile, Morris had also become a prominent member of the Belfast Jewish community, and during the build-up to the Second World War, he became a key part of Belfast's Refugee Aid Committee. In May 1939, he, along with Barney Hurwitz and Leo Scott, leads the derelict farm here in County Down. This farm became a safe haven to well over 300 Jewish children who had been sent on the kinder transports by their parents to escape Nazi persecution in Europe. In fact, Malal is one of 80 different locations around the UK where the AJR is planting a tree this winter. From Castle Douglas up in Scotland, down to Mount Olm on the coast of Cornwall, from the port of Harwich in Essex to Glyndebourne in Sussex, we are marking 80 places that, like Malal, were hugely important to Jewish refugees 80 years ago. For those of you who are not familiar with the AJR, I should say a few words. We deliver social, welfare and volunteer services to Jewish victims of Nazi oppression and were formally established 80 years ago during World War II, specifically to assist the tens of thousands of displaced Jewish people who, like the children who came here, were fortunate enough to find refuge in the United Kingdom. Nowadays, many of our members represent the next generations, and we have introduced special programmes and activities for these groups. A year ago, when we began planning this special 80 Trees for 80 Years project, we had no idea of how it would be received. The Malal community's response reflects the enthusiasm that we have seen across the UK in support of this project. We are also thrilled that this project has been recognised by the Queen's Green Canopy Initiative, marking Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee this year. Each tree celebrates the remarkable impact that has been made by Jewish refugees to every walk of life. The literary critic George Steiner once said, "When you come to a house as a guest, you must try and leave the house a little nicer than you found it." Just like today's refugees, most Jewish people arrived in the UK with little more than the clothes they were wearing. Despite, or perhaps because of the massive traumas they had experienced, they were determined to build a new and better life. Between 1938 and 1948, the farm at Malal provided the refugees with the necessary skills they needed to embrace opportunities in their new homeland. With these foundations, they have made a lasting impression across the fabric of UK society, in industry, business, culture, media and the arts, and medical science, to name but a few. Oak trees are the UK's national trees, and they support more forms of natural wildlife than other trees. But like lots of things in our environment, they are coming under threat and need our protection. So this tree is not just a way of remembering the Jewish refugees. It also helps them to give something back to the places which became their homes. We are delighted that it is being planted here at Malal, where we know it will be cared for and thrive. Suzanne is particularly grateful to this farm, as it is where her parents met. So on behalf of Suzanne, I would like to thank you all again for your support with this wonderful project.
And I'd like to call Mr. Mayor, Councillor Mark Briggs, to say a few words.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning. Yes, as Joe had said, my name is Councillor Mark Briggs and I'm the Mayor of Bars and North Down, and I'm delighted to be here today, my first visit to the Malal Community Association in this lovely and very valuable facility that you have here in Malal. I was listening to some of the names and I knew Larry Kitzer very well. I also knew his mother. I was 25 years in business and Donegal, and I got to know a lot of the people, and I heard all the stories about the farm. As many of you already know, the Association of Jewish Refugees are planting 80 trees around the UK to mark the 80th anniversary. All of the chosen locations, including Malal, have been carefully selected due to their significance with the Jewish refugees. Back in the 1930s, the Kinder Transport rescued Jewish children from parts of Europe under Nazi rule. They were brought to various locations in the UK, and some of them were brought to the settlement farm here, as we all know, in Malal. This village and its people provided a safe place an environment for them where they could live, work and play during what was an extremely difficult time. Indeed, when you look around the world today, those difficult times are very much still in existence, and many people are looking for a safe haven such as Malai. This is why we are planting the tree here in Malai today, and it is an honour to those people and places that symbolise the enormous contribution of Jewish refugees. I hope that this tree will be appreciated by the future generations in the town and will act as a platform and telling the story of the Jewish refugees in Malai. Thank you very much. Thank
you. And Curtis, I think you're going to just read
Just going to cover
the
off
instruction again.
what the plaque says. This native oak tree was planted in 2022 by the Association of Jewish Refugees in honour of the 80th anniversary and loving memory of Belfast-born Morris Solomon, whose creation of Millard Farm, together with the kind people of Millard.
So this is a message from Robert Sugar over in the United States. By 1940, there were almost 90 Jewish refugees, man, woman and children, crowded into the Millard farm. And among them were 30 Kindertransportees. 12 were actual children, 9 to 11 years old. Robert says, I was one of these, and we were the ones who attended the Millard public school. I am now 92 years old and live in New York with my 2 daughters. Though born in Vienna, I've always thought of myself as coming from the Millard farm and the beautiful Ards. I wish I could be with you on this great day, but I am in spirit. I am sending you my greetings and thanks on behalf of the children to the village of Millard and its noble people. I wish I could see the planting of the tree and that it grows for hundreds of years and gives shelter to the people of Millard as you gave to us. This message is from Robert Sugar.